What's up, guys? So, this is the beginning of my review channel, and the first review series I'm going to do is about One Piece. So, I'm going to be reviewing the anime, the original anime, the live action series, all the movies that came out, and I won't be doing the manga, I don't think. If I do that, I'll probably do a separate channel to review that. But even I think there's a animated remake coming out, and I'll do that. So today we're gonna start with episode 1, and the title of it is "I'm Luffy, the man who will become the Pirate King." And of course, the original One Piece anime came out in 1999, and it's still going as of 2026. It's still going on. But before I talk about the plot of the episode, this is going to be an introduction for new people. For me, I'm going to explain like a bit about the lore, not the whole thing, just a tiny bit, just to get people introduced about what One Piece is. So, One Piece is a Japanese anime slash manga, sorry, which of course, the anime is like a Japanese cartoon, and manga is a Japanese comic. It was a comic that was adapted into an anime. It was a manga adapted into an anime, and the guy who wrote it is named Ichiro Oda. That's the guy who created One Piece. The genre of One Piece is a fantasy adventure with comedic action and some political elements. It mainly revolves around pirates who have special abilities, like superpowers. Some of them do. And it has very deep lore and characters, the show does. And the main character is named Monkey D. Luffy, who is a teenager or young adult at the beginning of the series who wants to become king of the pirates. That's his goal. And he wants to succeed the previous pirate king, whose name was Gold D. Roger, who was executed by the Marines many years prior to the story. The Marines are the main opposing force to the pirates, and they're basically the military slash police of the One Piece world. And the One Piece world is called the Blue Planet. Before his death, Goldie Roger said that the greatest treasure in the world, the One Piece, he hid at the end of the Grand Line. And the Grand Line is basically an ocean route, and it's the center of the One Piece world, the Blue Planet. And Roger's speech and his execution sparked a golden age of piracy, with the pirates battling each other and the Marines. The government of the Blue Planet is called the World Government, and the Marines work for the World Government. And the World Government becomes a lot more important as the show goes on. There are morally good and bad pirates, as well as morally good and bad Marines. None are like either uniformly either bad or good. Like there's mixes in between. And the setting for the first part of the show is in an ocean called the East Blue. And I don't want to talk about everything regarding the lore of One Piece for spoiler reasons, because more of the show is, or more lore is revealed as the show continues. So I'm going to give the synopsis for the actual episode. So the first Japanese air date was October 20th, 1999. The 4Kids English release, which people don't like generally, is September 18th, 2004. And the Funimation English release was May 27th, 2008, which came out on DVD. And the first episode doesn't actually adapt the first chapter of the manga, it adapts the second chapter. And the first chapter was not adapted until episode 4. And I think they did this because in the first few panels of the first chapter of the manga, main character Luffy, he stabs himself in the eye with a knife, and they didn't want kids seeing that. And I'll explain why he does that when we get to that episode. But the main character Luffy is cast at sea in a barrel. Sailors on a passing cruise ship retrieve the barrel, but the ship is attacked with cannon fire by a nearby pirate ship, led by a massive, ugly woman named Alvida. The barrel is sent rolling into the kitchen of the ship. Once the cruise ship's sails have been destroyed, the Alvida pirates board the ship to plunder its goods, and Alvida also forces one of her chore boys, Kobe, to board the ship. Meanwhile, a girl, who is later revealed to be a major character named Nami in a later episode, takes advantage of this opportunity and sneaks aboard the Alvida pirate ship to steal its treasures. Now, that part wasn't in the original manga. Nami doesn't appear until a few chapters later, and she's not named in this episode. I think it's just for filler. But Kobe and other pirates notice the barrel in the kitchen and find Luffy inside, who is sleeping. After Luffy defeats the hostile pirates, he goes with Kobe to the pantry to eat the stored food. Luffy explains that he set sail to begin his pirating career, but his dinghy was destroyed by a whirlpool and he was left trapped at sea in a barrel. Kobe explains that he was riding on a rowboat, but he was kidnapped by the Alvida pirates and forced to become a chore boy. He explains his desire to escape the Alvida pirates someday and join the Marines. Alvida is informed of Luffy's presence and, out of suspicion that he could be a bounty hunter, confronts him and Kobe in the pantry. This triggers a battle on the ship, but Luffy defeats the pirates. Although Alvida is armed with a large spiked club, her attacks are rendered ineffective as Luffy ate a devil fruit. And a devil fruit is a fruit which grants people in the One Piece world special powers. Luffy's fruit is called the Gum Gum fruit, and it grants him a superhuman ability that gives his body rubber-like properties. Using a Gomu Gomu no pistol attack, Luffy defeats Alvida, sending her flying off the ship and into the sea. Having concluded the battle, Luffy boards a dinghy with Kobe to continue his travels, catching a glimpse of the female burglar, who is also departing the ship on her own dinghy. Luffy aims towards the Grand Line to search for the One Piece treasure, but first looks to recruit the infamous pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro into his crew. And at the end of the episode, Zoro is seen tied up, and he's presumably going to be executed soon. And so I got that synopsis off the One Piece wiki, but I edited a few things here just to explain things more. So the differences from the manga. In the manga, the setting was on an island. I think it was the main base of the Alvida pirates, but I think I might be wrong though. But in the anime, they attack a cruise ship. And I think they did this to create more action and events going on. And the second major thing, which I already mentioned, is Nami appears in this episode, and she doesn't appear in the manga till chapter 8. And there's a filler scene added that shows Luffy and Kobe in the cellar where Luffy is eating apples. It's a very brief scene. In the manga, Kobe shows Luffy a boat he built in 2 years to escape from Alvida, and that's not shown in the show. In the manga, Alvida and her crew seriously discussed the possibility that Kobe had hired Roronoa Zoro to attack them. This is simplified in the anime, with Alvida simply mistaking Luffy as a bounty hunter, but she does mention to Luffy that she thought he was Zoro. And the episode notes, so this episode uses the first opening, and that's called We Are, which is the most iconic One Piece song. And it's my favorite, probably, anime opening of all time, I think. Well, it's right up there. I like the Fist of the North Star first opening. That's also one of my favorites. And the outro is called Memories, and I like that one too. It's really good. And so it's called Memories, the outro. I don't know if I said that right. But this and the second episode used a unique end card that spells continued. So I had that in the back of on my TV screen. I'll show it to you higher clear picture. Just one sec. So that's the title card that's used in this episode, but it's only in the first two episodes. In every episode after, it's like this. It's the same title card, and it's kind of become more iconic now. And but when that card though, the red one I just showed you, that doesn't appear in the dub, the Funimation dub. It uses the same card for all the end of the episodes, the ending card. So my opinion on this episode, I really like it. It establishes the vibe of One Piece in a good way, and it's easy for someone to get hooked after watching this initial episode. Now, my experience with starting One Piece, I watched this episode, I think like a couple of them, and I didn't get into it for a while, like a year or so, and then I started watching it again. I think it was like the Luffy's origin with Shanks. That's when I started getting into it, episode 4. But before that, I kind of watched a bit of it, but couldn't really get into it. And then before or after that, I got into it though. Well, I think my favorite arc is the Alabasta arc. That's my favorite arc. But the first arc is called the East Blue, or I think it's the East Blue arc. But I prefer this being the intro to Luffy compared to the manga because it kind of makes him look cooler and it makes the audience wonder like who he is, like why he got the gum gum powers and all that. And Nami's edition, I don't know if I like. I don't think I do. It's kind of filler because it doesn't really add anything to the story. But I do like how it shows like Nami can disguise herself and is like sneaky because that becomes important later on in the story. And I think it was made because, like Luffy's introduction, it's supposed to make the audience wonder who she is, but I don't think it works as well though. I do find it weird that after seeing each other, Luffy doesn't ask her like what she's doing or if she's curious about her. He just makes they make eye contact with each other. And I like Luffy and Kobe as characters. Luffy is very straightforward and simple minded, and he's not afraid of anybody. He'll fight anybody. If he does anything bad. And I really like his entrance when he explodes from the barrel. I love his entrance. And I like he respects Kobe for following his dream of being a Marine, despite that making them enemies eventually. And Kobe, I like, he has a good little character arc where he stands up to Alvida by calling her a hag. And prior to meeting with Luffy, he was very like he's very shy and he wouldn't like stand up to anybody. And he was I liked how the reasoning he wants to become a Marine because he doesn't want anybody to feel like he did. I think that's the reason. He doesn't like anybody to feel like he did when Alvida basically enslaved him. And my thoughts on Alvida, I think she's okay. She's kind of like generic, more generic villain, especially compared to the villains that show up later on. And I like how, despite how deep the lore of One Piece later becomes, I think it just kind of built gradually. But the episode isn't overbearing at all about the lore, and it's very simple to watch. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my opinion. I would probably give this episode a 4 out of 5. I probably knocked down a point because the stuff with Nami's not really relevant. I find the stuff with like the random filler stuff. But everything else is excellent. I love it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, that'll be appreciated. Um, if you guys want me to review anything, like any piece of like visual media, just let me know in the comments. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.